and like outwork everyone. It's gonna be good. Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be taken care of. But I realized that this is actually not true. I had two sort of encounters that forced me to reevaluate this quite carefully. The first was less of an encounter and more of a sort of brooding and escalating awareness that I had friends who had not gone to my private high school, who were working really hard, and who were not being granted access to the opportunities that I was enjoying access to. So this was like one of my first sort of substantive encounters with structural inequality. Now, the point about being a shitty friend has to do with the fact that I didn't know how to be a friend to them. So, especially as our life experiences began taking us in very different directions, I didn't really know how to be there for them. We could talk about some of the stuff that we were talking about, that we had been talking about our entire lives up to that point. But when it came to doing things like offering them advice, or receiving their advice, or establishing a newly shared space in which we could talk about things that were of mutual important relevance to us, I wasn't doing a particularly good job of that. And I didn't know how to resolve that. I didn't know what to do. But the second catalyst came in the form of some of those expectations to which I alluded earlier that were coming into focus as not just racially charged, oh, that euphemism, but as downright racist. So let me give one example of this. I discussed in the book that after I was admitted to college, I was having a conversation in the elevator on my way to AP Bio with one of my classmates in high school. And my classmate, who came from a very privileged background, was droning on and on and on about how anxious he was about college admissions. And he was hopeful that some of his parents' contacts at various other institutions might help him out, but he wasn't sure if they were going to work out. So then he turned to me and said, but it must have been so easy for you because of this. And he pinched his skin, right? So I had a series of visceral emotional responses at that moment. The first response was that I really wanted to choke him out, like bad. Like I was like, we got like a minute to go before we get off this elevator. Like I could definitely perpetrate an act of violence, right? But then of course I have to play it out in my head in the way that this black body is conditioned to think things through, right? If I do this, I'm gonna get thrown out of my school, and then my college admission is gonna be rescinded, and so there dies the dream of going to Princeton, right? But my visceral response and my subsequent responses to this episode both gave me further prompts to think more carefully about how I was situating myself in relation to my classmates and how my classmates were reading me. And moving into college, I had other reminders of my significant otherness in ways that were not quite as easy or quite as blatant in their performance as that incident in the elevator, but that were still enough for me to repeatedly reevaluate how my peers were relating to me and how I was relating to them. So those were the prompts, right? Because although she's read parts of it, and although she was responsible for the crafting of the opening chapters, which depended heavily on my correspondence with her, she still feels that in order for her reading experience of the book to be what it should be, I have to translate. Right? So she has been always an audience. I've also had in mind undocumented and documented folk. Although here there are two issues, and I've already alluded to one. The issue of differential privilege, even within undocumented contexts, but then also the crafting of the memoir from the title all the way to its conclusion, with the aid of what I'll refer to as a triumphalist or meliorist emplotment, right? Indirectly, and also by necessity as a consequence of writing for a publisher like Penguin, I found myself receiving and responding to the invitation to write for this anonymized general American reader who is presumed to be a white man